Send the tribute mission to China at least twice a year. Here is a large Chinese painting titled 10,000 Envoys Come to Pay Tribute, dating from 1761, depicting a New Year's scene at the Forbidden City in Beijing. 14 tribute bearers are gathered inside the southern gate of the Forbidden City, waiting. They will present their gifts to the Qianlong Emperor in the Hall of Supreme Harmony during the ceremony. In the detail here on the left shows various exotic gifts from all over the world, including an elephant. And in the detail on the right shows envoys. 2 Korean envoys representing the Joseon court are waiting at the head of the long line with their staff of 2 older and the young men holding a banner and the gifts. Korean tribute mission usually consisted of 400 to 500 people in total, but the official emissaries, officials, numbered only a handful, and the rest were their young relatives, scribes, writers, interpreters, medical staff, servants, and merchants, and so on. Even during the Northern Sung period, Susho, better known as Sudungpo in Korea, was severely critical of the Korean tribute mission, comprised of 400 or more people. Without counting the expenses his office had to meet in receiving them, Susho was not happy that Koreans bought up books and paintings in hundreds to take back home. Both Hong Dae-yong and Park Ji-won wrote about taking numerous trips to Liuliuchang during their stay in Beijing, looking for books and other things to purchase and also to meet people. This is an early 20th century photo of Liuliuchang, contemporary photo of the same area. The store signs indicating galleries and the bookstore. Another sign, you can see a store sign of old and contemporary calligraphy books and the paintings. During their trips to galleries and bookstores in Liuliuchang, I wonder whether Koreans, especially court painters, had a chance to see and purchase paintings such as this. Here is Kangxi Emperor sitting in front of bookcases. Qianlong Emperor with various collectibles. The case on his left looks much like the one Lang Xiaoning painted. A lady of Yongzheng Emperor in her private room with built-in shelves. Did I mess up? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. I touched this. So. And here is a treasures cabinet or antiquities cabinet you are all familiar with. If they had seen the, this also is another interesting thing. This is the New Year's prints. If they had seen the reproduction of these paintings and the furnishings, just like the painting bearing Lang Xiaoning's attribution, they also became sources of ideas for Korean checkeri painters. We know that King Jeongjo's favorite court painter, Kim Hong-do, went to China together with his painter colleague, Lee Myung-gi, at the request of Lee Seung-won, chief emissary of the Winter Mission, leaving for China in late 1789 and returning in early 1790. Written sources mention Kim Hong-do, King Jeong-jo's favorite painter, excelling in chakari or chakka paintings, but unfortunately, no scholar's accoutrement paintings by him has surfaced so far. Only through an indirect way, with the works of the Ajanat and Samsung Screens painter, who was grandson of Kim Hong-do's younger colleague, Lee Jong-hyun, we can imagine Kim's chakari painting style. There are two ink paintings which are believed to be Kim Hong-do's self-portrait. This is Kim as a young man. We can see his tidy studio. He was supposed to have been a very tidy person. You can see inkstone, water dropper, brush holder with brushes, a bronze vessel with coral branch and peacock feather, a tiny incense burner, rolls of paper, books, and the seals. This is his self-portrait when he was a bit older. He is more relaxed now here, enjoying his lute music. He was known to have been a very good kayagam and flute player, and he often painted immortals playing mouth organ, senghwang. Here he is surrounded by various things, including a mouth organ, an inkstone, a brush, a bronze who with coral branch, a coral stand, and the rolls of paper, an incense burner, ceramic wine jar, long rolls of paper, tall piles of books, and so on. Many objects represented in Ajanat and Samsung Screens, we can see that Kim Hong-do was quite familiar with. Lately, this work by Chang Han-jong has been attracting attention. In your study guide, I wrote that this was in the collection of Hoam, which is now, of course, Liam Samsung Museum of Art. That was a mistake, I'm sorry. The screen is in the collection of Gyeonggi Province Museum of Art, Gyeonggi-do Bakmulgwan. Like his grandfather, like grandfather of Lee Hyung-nok, Lee Jong-hyun, I don't want you to get confused, so I can't get confused myself, right? So, grandfather of Lee Hyung-nok, Lee Jong-hyun, Chang Han-jong, was younger contemporary of Kim Hong-do, and came from a court painters that produced 4 court painters in waiting, one less than the family of Lee Hyung-nok or Lee Eung-nok, the painter of Samsung and Ajanat Screens that produced 5 court painters in waiting. I'd like to introduce to you the family and work relationship among court painters surrounding Chang Han-jong, because I believe their work must have stylistic connections. Chang Han-jong was no, I think I should just stay here, right? Okay, I should stay here. I was saying Chang Han-jong was a son-in-law of Kim Eung-hwan, whose family produced 6 court painters in waiting. Chang Han-jong's father-in-law, Kim Eung-hwan, was very close to Kim Hong-do. On King Jeong-jo's order, Kim Eung-hwan and Kim Hong-do traveled together to the Diamond Mountains in 1788 to bring back paintings of real scenery. Again, on King's order in 1789, they were going to Japanese island of Tsushima when Kim Eung-hwan fell ill and passed away in Busan. Kim Hong-do took care of his colleague's burial and made a trip alone to Tsushima. Chang Han-jong, the painter of screen with curtains, was not only the son-in-law of this Kim Hong-wan, this very Kim Hong-wan, but also a brother-in-law of Lee Myung-gi, as mentioned earlier, who traveled to China with Kim Hong-do from 1789 to 1790. Furthermore, we are also told that during the entire year of 1776, Kim Hong-do and Kim Hong-hwan and several court painters worked together at Kang Hee-eun's house to meet court assignments as well as private commissions. Lee Jong-hyun, grandfather of the painter of the Asian art and Samsung screens, was there. The 18th century writer Ma Seung-rin wrote that he would regularly drop by to watch them paint. There is an interesting story about Lee Jong-hyun, the grandfather of Samsung and Asian art screens, Lee Hyung-nok. In the competition that took place in the 9th lunar month in 1788, the court painters in waiting were given no specific topics, and instead they were told to select their own subject matter. When their paintings were submitted, Kim Jong-jo was deeply disappointed in their works, especially the paintings by Lee Jong-hyun and another painter, Shin Han-pyong. These two painters, who were known for their skill in chakgari or chakka paintings, had not painted on this subject as the king apparently had expected them to do. Kim Jong-jo's disappointment lay in the fact that even though they were told to paint on topic of their own choice, they should have known what he would have preferred them to paint. Despite the distraction initially caused by the curtains, we detect in this screen the similar approach to the subject matter and the pictorial representation as in the Asian art and Samsung screens. We see similar articles, such as from the right, the hand scroll in a case forming a V, a letter V, Narcissus, Buddha hands, brush holder with brushes, bronze who with peacock feather, a vase with flowers, a slender cup with different colored lid slightly open, a bronze ding with attenuated leg, and the coral stand with jade pendant. If we look at 4 panels, we also see a couple of new ideas. Although each panel has 3 shelves like the Samsung screen, 2 and 3 compartments have been added within a shelf as indicated with a yellow square. And the other new idea is creating hidden shelves at the bottom covered with doors. One door is opened, exposing books inside. This shows 4 left panels. Again, 2 and 3 compartments are created within a shelf as marked with yellow squares, and also a seal box is added in the left corner of the screen, as you can see. Seal with carving can be seen in the middle. It has to be turned to make characters legible. Here on the right, we see the seal as it appears in the screen, in the middle after it is turned. Finally, on your left, characters are legible. It reads, Seal of Chang Han-jong or Chang Han-jong seal. The most unusual, of course, is the yellow curtains with roundel enclosing double happiness character. Now, I have tried to show how influences would have traveled. If you look at their dates, it's not that hard to figure out. We begin the chart with the 4 court painters who were contemporaries. Since Kim Hong-do was acknowledged by everyone as the most gifted and talented painter, and also known to have excelled in Chekka or Chekari paintings, his influence would have flowed down to Kim Hong-hwan and Lee Jong-hyun, and also to younger Jang Han-jung. In the case of Jang Han-jung, who painted the screen with curtains, he would have been influenced by all 3 older colleagues, Kim Hong-do, Kim Hong-hwan, who was his father-in-law, and Lee Jong-hyun, the painter of Samsung and Ejana screens. The painter of Samsung and Ejana screens, Lee Hyung-nok, who was known as Lee Eung-nok, would have been influenced by, of course, his family styles, initiated by his grandfather, Lee Jong-hyun, carried on by his father, Lee Yun-min. You can see why I made a chart, because I also got confused. So I had to figure out precisely, you know. So this is the chart I came up with to teach me the lines. The painter of the Asian art and Samsung screens appears to have adhered more closely to his family's time-tested pictorial tradition, and perhaps that's the reason why his screens look stylistically older, although they post-date Jang Han-jung's screens, Jang Han-jung's screen with curtains. Dr. Young-suk Park, some of you know her, who taught at SOAS, University of London, would like to believe that this screen was painted for residents of Crown Prince Hyeomyoung. On the 3rd day of the 2nd lunar month in 1814, record of Royal Library does indicate that topic of competition for the court painters in waiting was the Chekka for the Junghee Hall, which was the residence of Crown Prince Hyeomyoung, King Sunjo's eldest son. To support her idea, Dr. Park points out that double happiness character he inside the roundels on the curtains, and the middle character of he of Junghee Hall are homophones in Korean. Of course, we cannot be certain if her argument is valid, but one has to question, would Jang Han-jung be so brave as to include his own seal in the screen he was painting for the Crown Prince's residence in Changdeok Palace? In this competition, apparently Jang Han-jung placed 4th among 7 winners. Perhaps this could have been the screen Jang Han-jung painted for a patron who knew about his participation in a painting Chekka or Chekari screen for Crown Prince's residence at a later date between 1814 and 1817 before his death. Much more fascinating question might be what Kim Hong-do or other court painters who traveled to China during and after Qianlong Emperor's reign, whether they saw a painting like this at Liuchang or elsewhere. This shows Emperor Qianlong as a writer and a poet. Although color of lining fabric, roundel design on the fabric, and the way the curtains tied are different, the color of curtain itself and also the idea of using curtains in a painting could not have escaped discerning eyes of Korean court painters. After Chang Han-jok's screen with curtains, we should not be surprised to see a work such as this. In place of elegant silk curtains, we see luxurious leopard skin curtains covering all the panels except the two central ones. Although we are missing a panel each on both ends, it is a 8-panel screen. As you might already know, character for tiger and leopard are same. Tiger is extremely important in Korean culture. It features in Korean foundation myth and it symbolized protective power for Koreans for centuries. In olden days, in order to usher in the new year, Koreans of all classes pasted paintings and calligraphy of a tiger on their front gates and the pillars, believing that power of tiger would protect the family throughout the new year. During the Joseon dynasty, the well-to-do families had a custom of covering their daughters' bridal palanquins with tiger or leopard skin or skins to protect them from any harm. Only the central 2 panels are opened here, but that's enough for us to see what is inside. There are some books, rolled up scrolls, even pair of spectacles over an open book, as if person who was reading stepped out for a moment. But somehow, we cannot escape feeling that an effort had been made to make it look casual. And owner, in fact, was very proud of and eager to show off many curious articles he has managed to accumulate. Dr. Seungnim Kim at Dartmouth College interprets it as a reflection or sign of changing Korean society that was becoming increasingly materialistic from the late 19th century onwards. We should also include changes occurring among patrons. It indicates that there were more patrons from merchant class, not from the Yangban class, which would go for a screen something like this. This type of screen makes such a contrast to what King Jeongjo, the promoter of Chakari paintings, preferred during the second half of the 18th century. His Chakari paintings had to look like bookcases with many books. He even insisted that titles of his favorite Confucian classics be clearly written on the covers. Fortunately, the popularity of Chakari painting continued even after King Jeongjo's reign. From 1783 to 1881, 64 painters in waiting received recognition for their works on this topic. Before long, the scholar's accoutrements paintings became popular, not just in the palace, but among Confucian scholars of the Joseon dynasty. According to the 18th century writer Lee Gyu-sang, there was no queen, meaning gentleman, in Seoul who did not have Chakari painting in his house. This comment was supported by the 19th century writer Lee Jae-gun, who wrote about his friend's reaction to the realistically painted scholar's studio screen in his home, as mentioned earlier. One of the reasons why scholar officials did not react negatively toward the luxurious paintings in vivid colors might have been because the focus of the early Chakka or Chakari paintings had been the books on the shelves. Since King Jeongjo insisted that books on the checkered screens must include his favorite Confucian classics with their titles clearly written, Joseon scholars must have felt comforted by noticing in the paintings the same books that they themselves also treasured. And as King Jeongjo had been, they must have been equally intrigued with the newly introduced Western painting techniques based on mathematics that made painted objects appear astonishingly lifelike. This 10-panel screen is late 19th century work by Kang Dal-soo. When I included it in the Hopes and Aspirations exhibition, collector was living in New York. Since then, he's made many changes. I'm not sure where the screen is now, perhaps in the Musée Guimet in Paris. Of course, I turned to Kay Black for an essay for this screen. Being an excellent detective, she soon deciphered the seal of Kang Dal-soo. Also, she discovered that he was born in 1856 and was related by marriage to Lee Hyung-nok, the painter of Samsung and Asian art screens. Kang's screen, we are immediately struck by brilliant colors. We also notice that he uses 3 and 4 alternating shelves arrangement. Many objects are similar to us, familiar to us from the Samsung and Asian art screens, suggesting that he was a follower of Lee Hyung-nok. What is interesting is that Kang does not use motifs from Samsung screens alone. Here he uses two prominent motifs the Samsung screen has, but Asian Art Museum doesn't. 2 scrolls in the carved stone box on the top right shelf. The upside-down jade carp. I want you to notice also how different their palette is. Kang with vivid chemical blues and reds, and Lee Hyung-nok with the mineral colors, much deeper and softer. Also, if you compare, for instance, the shelves marked with arrows, you can notice that Kang shows diminished interest in capturing illusion of spatial recession and three-dimensionality. Here, Kang again uses 2 motifs that Asian art screen has, but not Samsung screen. A Western-style table stand and the bronze who holding 2 peacock feathers and the 3-branched coral. Samsung screen does have a bronze who with 2 peacock feathers, but no coral branch. Here too, if you look at the shelves marked with arrows, you can see the difference in their palette. How Kang is far less interested in capturing a spatial illusion and the 3-dimensional quality of the objects. Kang Dal-soo is using Western linear perspective and chiaroscuro in much more limited manner, while Lee Hyung-nok and Lee Eung-nok push the use of Western pictorial techniques as far as his audience would allow. Kang's colors are definitely not mineral colors. He is using here chemical blues and reds that were called Yangchong and Yanghong, meaning Western blue and the Western red. King Jeongjo expressed his intense dislike toward these striking colors and disapproved their use in 1874. But because these Western colors were less expensive than mineral pigments, Korean painters continued to use them from the 19th century, late 19th century onwards. In 2011, this screen was purchased at a New York auction by Cleveland Art Museum. We immediately see many similarities between Cleveland and Kangdalsu screens. They both are 10-panel screens painted in vivid colors, and their panels are given alternately 3 and 4 shelves. I have indicated with the arrow the articles in the Cleveland screen that are also in Kangdalsu's screen. I have not seen the screen in person, so I don't know if the seal is blank or carved. But I would not be too surprised if Cleveland's screen was also painted by Kangdalsu. I think it predates the screen with Kangdalsu's seal, judging from the use of deeper and softer colors compared to Kangdalsu's very harsh chemical colors. Samsung has been actively collecting chekka or chekkari screens for many years. I have the 4 right panels from 8-panel screen in their collection. Here are the 4 left panels. The screen is very wide. Shelves are arranged in much more complicated way. Some are like Langshaning's shelves. There is tendency to favor ceramics, jade, metalwares with encrusted surface decoration. The book covers and cases are even decorated lavishly with various patterns. The objects look more luxurious and costly, again reflecting the taste of people who started to collect these screens from the late 19th and early 20th century. We have here the 4-panel from the 8-panel screen dating from the 20th century, also in the collection of Lium Samsung Museum of Art. Although we see the representation of recognizable objects such as books, there are a great many ordinary things we have not seen included in a chekka or chekkari screen before, such as grapes, watermelon, plums, and so on. Also, it seems as if painter has turned his back completely on the past accomplishment. He is into discovering the beauty and the satisfaction in 2-dimensional surface decoration. He gets carried away, as you can see here. He has no interest in rendering bookcases or bookshelves even in a naturalistic manner. He simply draws vertical and horizontal lines directly over geometric patterns. The screen is a wonderful reflection of our time, 20th century. Our impatience, our busy, frantic, and also complicated lifestyle. Chekka and the chekkari paintings, of course, have not died away. They have evolved into delightful folk paintings, which many people love and collect in Korea. Lately, there is a folk painting movement in Korea. There are many groups of painters in different areas in Korea who are passionately into producing folk paintings. Of course, we don't have time to time today to get into this fascinating phenomena. I'd like to end today's talk showing you two Chakari paintings that have been mounted now as two-panel screen. And I'd like to have some time to have a good Q&A session after we look at these paintings. I have long been fascinated by these paintings in the Nihon Mingeikan Japan Folk Crafts Museum in Tokyo, established by famous Yanagi Soetsu in the early 20th century. He loved these paintings very much. I think maybe more than I do. But he considered them to be Korean folk paintings. This is where we part our ways. The more I study them, the more I feel these paintings are not folk paintings. I don't know what you think about them. I'd like to have your response. I think they were mislabeled, just like the Chekka or Chakari screen in the Kurashiki Museum of Folk Crafts we saw. We saw Chekka and Chakari screens painted by non-painters, Lee Hyung-nok, Lee Young-nok, Chang Han-jong, or even Kang Dal-soo, who were mastering and utilizing the Western linear perspective and chiaroscuro with considerable ease and success. Therefore, it is difficult to think that painter of these works was presenting objects from different angles using multiple viewpoints without a purpose. I believe that they were painted by a master painter who was trying to leave behind the concept of an orderly composition and naturalism that was important to the 18th and 19th century painters, in order to experiment and discover new way of organizing forms on the two-dimensional surface. His choice of limited range of dark colors, together with some white, is too sophisticated for a novice painter even to contemplate, let alone to carry through to satisfying pictorial results that we have here. I believe that what this anonymous painter tried to do parallels what Pablo Picasso and George Braque were trying to do during their Cubist phases in the early 20th century. These works by anonymous Korean painter do not quite fit into either categories of Western analytic cubism or synthetic cubism, but they easily fit in somewhere between them. These are brilliant paintings, and we no longer should consider them as folk paintings. As much as I respect Yanagi Soetsu, this is where we differ. And this is the end of my talk this morning, and I'd like to see what kind of questions you have.